Hello and welcome into the SorareAndrews podcast brought to you by SorareData. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined as always by Andy Black, who you can find as Black on Sorare. Thank you to everybody who has joined us live, putting in the work just like us to make sure that we can get the best out of Sorare. Andy, I was just commenting to you that I did not put much work into preparing this podcast. And I think it's because I was so busy actually doing the work of Sorare.
There you go.
So maybe I was working.
Or doing SorareData work.
Yeah. There is a bit of I'm in a weird position on that one. I will admit that the lines of work and hobby cross a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Thank you to everybody who has joined us. Yowza was the first in. Hello. Surface is here as well. Russell, Mike McGovern, spreadsheets or it didn't happen. I may show a spreadsheet. I might do it. Chani is here. Mike Baston, Lataro, thank you guys for joining us. If you could please hit the like button on the video. Always appreciated. You guys know that that's important. Nobody knows why, but we just know it is. Indy, I also noticed I was going to bring this up, and I'm glad you played along. Where we are, and I know you probably have been there a little bit earlier, it is officially hoodie season.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
The first one comes out and you're just like, all right, I'm wearing something like this for the next 6 months and it's just going to happen.
Well, what's crazy is it has dropped down like cold enough to where I have to unhook all my hoses in the yard. Like we've had freezing temperatures like down into the 20s Fahrenheit for I don't even know what that is Celsius, but
below zero
something. Yeah, 20 something Fahrenheit, and then I read this weekend it's going to get back into like the 80s. So, yeah, definitely hoodie weather though, because like in the morning you need this, and then in the afternoon you just take it off and you wear your t-shirt.
Yep. Mike Basson, yes, this is the opposite of short season. Truly the opposite. Yeah, I think Sean mentioned that he had snow the other day. And I'm like, oh, I'm not ready.
That's crazy.
That's
I think where he's at though, he gets like lake effect snow and stuff. So as long as the temperature drops low enough, they'll get weird stuff.
Yeah. All right, that is your weekly United States weather report. On to the show here. I didn't even know where to start, to be honest, because I was thinking about this earlier in terms of like there's a very specific moment that I was thinking of when I came up with this podcast idea that happened months ago, but I was doing something that reminded me of it. And I'm not going to call them out, but it was somebody in the chat right now who I don't remember what the transaction was that he completed, whether it was like a trade or eventually bought a card or was a loan or whatever it was. But he was like, I put so much work into this deal to get this card. And I remember this. So this was a while ago. And I remember being like, what work? There's no work. You buy the card. That's the work. And it's completely false. There's a ton of work that goes into it. And it's all, every time I'm like, okay, this is where the work starts. I'm like, wait, actually, there's something you have to do before that. And like, that's work. And it's like, work has like a negative connotation to it because this is like a hobby for a lot of people. Some people do it for their livelihood, but like generally people are playing for fun, but there's like work, good work, fun, scouting is like work. And so I don't want to like say this is all like negative. I think it's all like, we enjoy this hobby. And so, but the work, you can really like get into it. And so I was like, all right, you got this card. Like, what was the work? And it's like, all right, well, you had to like find out. I assume it was like a super rare or unique because those tend to like, those are transactions that are a little harder to do. So I'm like, well, you have to find somebody who's like selling the card or somebody willing to sell the card. But then there's like all the work of like even deciding you want that card of that player and in that scarcity. And it's like all of that stuff. And it was just like, I think we talk about how if you don't want to just throw like a ton of money at this game, then you have to like work at it. And I think,
I mean, you just kind of answered the whole thing right there. The less work you want to do, the more money you have to put in.
But I think
even for individual cards, like if I don't want to negotiate. I know the guy that I want. I just go buy him. I can pay more money and do less work.
Yeah, that's a good point. I actually never thought of it that way. I thought you were going to say like just go buy the best players, but I guess
That
it is
too.
like if you just happen to, well, it is that.
Go
But
look
also
at
like if you
the
just want
top
a
10
card.
rankings on SorareData in each position and just buy the top 3 guys, and that's probably the least amount of work, right?
Right. Oh, for sure, for sure. I think that reminded me of our good friend Sean and his kind of advice to most people of just like, well, just buy, like just spend more, just like go buy and whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I do remember like talking to him, and he justified part of it once, where he was just like, the longer you wait, like the less utility you get out of the card. But also B, like the amount of work that you're putting in to like try to get it cheaper or to find somebody else who's willing to sell it, like it might not be worth that, or the money that you're saving might not be worth it. That being said, I think most people don't just have extra ETH laying around. So like the whole like just pay it. But that does kind of come up of like, if you really want a card, there are ways where you could just like make it happen, whether you have to like sell another card to raise ETH or deposit more, but like that's the less work in terms of that area of work that it involves around Sorare. Which path or which like segment of work of Sorare do you enjoy the most?
Enjoy the most?
Yeah.
Setting lineups.
Huh.
And like
I wasn't expect like training lineups.
no. But setting lineups and like moving stuff around and honestly like checking for DNPs, I don't hate that much.
Mm-hmm.
Just like it's become such a like a thing of habit to where like I like when I'm checking a particular player, I check here, then I check here, then I check here, and I don't know. There's something almost like calming about like just like I'm going through the same steps each time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's makes it easy. Uh, but yeah, I really like setting lineups. I enjoy that. Uh, player acquisition, Mike McGovern just said, I hate that part. I hate talking to people and trying to get them to come down. Like I'm actually getting ready to do a deal right now, and I'm probably gonna overpay a little bit. I offered last sale on Dominic Livakovic, and I offered it to 4 people, and nobody replied. Nobody nobody rejected. Nobody
Yeah. Just left you
accepted.
hanging there, huh?
Yeah, and so I just like kept making the offer to different people, and I was leaving it out there for like an hour. I started this morning when I got into work. I was like, all right, I know who I want to get. I'm gonna put the offer out there, and I'll just let it sit. And then I send it to the next guy, let it sit, and then I just kept doing it. And then finally, somebody just messaged me that if I come up 0.07, then he'll do the deal. And I didn't even reply back to him. I just sent him 1.72 or whatever. It's like,
Ooh.
well, what am I gonna do? I'll do it for 1.7. It's like a $2,500 card. I'm gonna negotiate $30 off or something. Like,
I did that yesterday or 2 days ago. I sold a card and I rejected an offer and was hoping for a certain amount on the card and the guy was like, each rejection he was getting closer.
mm-hmm.
And then I got to a point where I'm like, I don't want to lose this. And I realized that I rejected one and accepted another for $7 more, and it was like a $1,200 card.
Yeah.
Like 1250, or no, I think it was 1250, and I was like, no. And they're like 1257, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like you're a busy man. You have a lot of stuff you need to be working on over there, and you're negotiating over like $7.
Well, what's funny is I was like, the number I wanted, I think, was probably like $14 more. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Let me do this so I can buy all my basketball cards. Mike was saying he actually likes the scouting, not so much the negotiation, which I think I get the most joy out of negotiation, but mostly because of how absurd the whole process is. That like you talk to somebody on Discord, hopefully you speak the same language. And there's just like, I mean, it's like true open market negotiation. Well, not public. I kind of wish it was all public. There was a very small part of me that early on when I started like negotiating and buying cards to like tell everyone that I negotiate with, like, I'm willing to negotiate as long as all of this is out in the open. And I would just like either stream it or something. I never obviously went through with that. But I do wonder how people would respond if like all of this was out in the open. No, I'm sorry. I don't need 1250. I need 1257. Or else I'm walking away.
Yeah.
That's all.
Do you think it helps at all if you can do that, if you can have that communication aspect on the platform, or is it just like that doesn't matter? People are still going to be difficult to deal with.
I think people will still be difficult to deal with. The number of people that I've tried to get cards from recently that don't have Discord or Twitter, I feel like has like exploded. And then you're just like sending offers into the abyss. It's a card I'm actually still trying to get, so I don't even want to say what it is. But this manager has rejected every what I considered reasonable offer. In fact, I believe they've rejected some unreasonable offers in their favor that I've made. And they have Discord, but have like not responded to any messages. So I just like, I don't know if like the list, well, obviously the listed price is like what they want. I don't think they're going to get it. And they seem perfectly content not getting it because it's like expired and they repost for the same price. But like, just tell me that. And then I'll just walk away. But then I keep thinking I have like some sort of possibility that it's there. And this silent treatment like works because I keep just sending higher offers. And at some point it's like, I'm just not doing this anymore. And $7 more didn't work that time.
Yeah.
So this Livakovic card that you're trying to get, what made you land on him to get?
I guess World Cup utility.
Ooh, that's funny.
And remember the goalkeeper that we joked about me buying on the last like 2 or 3 streams ago?
One of us joked about buying, the other one of us bought it.
Yeah, I did. And now he's hurt and he might not play in the World Cup.
Is he actually out for the World Cup? Is it that serious?
He's not out for the World Cup yet. They're evaluating him. He twisted his ankle, I guess.
Oh yeah, I saw that pic. It was like a gross picture.
Yeah, it looks bad. Like it looks like the ankle's not supposed to move that way. So, but I mean, it could also just be like, I don't know, photography playing tricks on our eyes.
I hope for your sake. Yeah. Going back to the lineup setting, the one thing you didn't mention at all was the possibility of like winning the best cards as you set your lineups. You were just like, yeah, I like checking DNPs. Like there was none of like finally getting to the 5 that you're playing and you're like, I'm winning this one.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and it's something that I overlook a lot. I try to look through I typically don't look through the pools, but I'll look at least what rewards are being offered, like whether it's a star rare or tier 1 rares, or like I couldn't tell you like in specialist. I think I saw this week that it's a super rare that the winner gets, I think. But and I think is underdog just rares, like underdog rare you win rares, specialist rare you win super rares though, I think.
Yes.
But I don't know what cards are in those pools. It's probably not I know that people have said specialist does not have the best rewards and underdog does have the best rewards. But yeah, I should dig through the pools and I don't. It's just more work.
I don't even mean that. Like not even what you can win. But I think it's Quinny has had like multiple streams recently where he's like, yeah, I think I'm on for like 4 or 5 podiums. And like that's how confident he is in his lineups. And lately I've been putting my lineups together and I'm like, I don't even know why I play this game anymore. Like legitimately my lineups have been so bad.
That positive energy.
I need it. I need to do that. I'm hoping that my NBA acquisitions at least bring some morale to the club to let these guys play a little bit. But I'm kind of with Mike. So it's funny. I like scouting cards to buy. And I say this after deciding I'm giving up U23 because I don't like that part of the scouting. Like it's a little just too deep for me. That like I like finding really good players and then having to be like, oh, but he's 26, so I'm not going to buy him. And so I've given up on that. This is going to be a topic for another time of how like frustrating it is when the card you want is U23, but you're not playing U23s.
Yeah.
But the scouting work I think is fun. What I actually don't really love, which is kind of funny because a lot of people do, is like sweating my lineups. Like I don't. Maybe it's just because I haven't had like a good sweat in a while, but like I don't really check my lineups all that much during game weeks. And
you're also pretty busy on weekends and stuff, so it's
even still, like
yeah.
taking out my phone and like looking at my lineups for a few minutes, like I have time for that. I'll put it that way. But like that part, and that's like a work free part of Sorare. Like I'm not doing any work really, just like, hey, am I winning? And but I do like everything that leads up to it. And I say this as I decided I was going to redo my training lineups this week because literally like all my MLS guys are dead now. Not dead. The season's over.
So what does that even mean? I'm going to redo my training lineups.
So I don't really do my training lineups in any like particular way. I just like, oh, let me just get 5 guys in. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, here's a legend. I'll put him in with a guy that if the lineup that I'm editing happens to have a guy that I one of my better cards who's not playing, like I'll put a legend in because that helps with that. I mean, but there's very little thought that goes into this. What I'm trying to do now is redo my training lineup so all my MLS guys are in the same lineups so that when I confirm them every week, they're done. Instead of having to like click that confirm all button, see the little thing spin, and then find out that like 3/4 of my lineups are now incomplete because of the cards that I've taken out of them to play.
Isn't that like least efficiency though? Like,
which way?
Don't you get more XP if the players in the lineup like scores points?
Oh, it is absolutely the worst possible way to do lineups to like maximize XP. I'm telling everybody, well, I should tell everybody, don't do this out of anything but avoiding future inconvenience. Like that's how I look at it.
I think that I'm with you, and maybe I will do the extra work coming up to avoid future work.
That's like I think it'll save me. I'm fairly certain it's going to save me time in the future.
Well, it has to save you time. I mean, if it's just, it'll be less draft lineups that you have to go back and fix.
Right. But it's absolutely a like negative EV when it comes to XP gain.
Yeah, but realistically, who cares?
Yeah, I don't. Like,
I mean, I care that I'm getting the minimum every week.
Right.
And that's why I do my training lineups, and I hate it so much. I mean, I can't even explain to you how much I hate setting training lineups.
You have a lot more than I do too. And I don't have
I don't yeah,
I have a decent number.
But it's still like, even if it was like 6, if I had to do 6 every week, doing those 6 training lineups, I would hate doing it so much.
I'll say I have like 6 for baseball. Yeah. And I hate doing it.
Guess what? I don't do baseball training. I don't know why. I just
You're a monster.
I don't bother.
Actually, I don't think I did them for this upcoming. I'm pretty sure. I don't even know if I put a lot. I don't have any players, so it didn't even. That's what it was. I have no one playing, and I'm like, oh, all right. And then I was like, oh, I didn't do training. No.
I think what's annoying about baseball training is like it doesn't save them week to week. You just have to like resubmit every single one
week.
Yeah. So basically, they're rewarding. I guess they're rewarding people to just go through the same monotonous behaviors.
They just love it. The worst is seeing like you're short of like one position, and then you're like, oh, I definitely threw that third baseman into a different one as a flex, so now I got to take him out.
Mike just mentioned that, and then it cancels the whole lineup, and then you got to redo it all.
Hopefully the offseason they'll fix all that in the offseason. But this is a football show here. So we're back to the work of Sorare. Sorry for everyone for going off topic. It's very unlike us to do that.
Aaron John said that Castro Montes on the thumbnail, that was his first card ever.
That's fun.
That particular card or just that player?
I think I used your card. So I was, well, unless you bought it from Aaron.
I might have.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a card that both of us have. And I went in, so I was thinking of that card as part of like the work that went into Sorare of all of the steps that I took in order to buy. So I have a Castro Montes super rare that I bought recently. He got hurt almost immediately. And so my bad, Andy, because I know that you had a bunch. Aaron Johns, if you still have one.
I have the rainbow of Castro Montes.
Ooh, that's fun.
No, it's not.
Well,
it's not fun at all.
Know, it was fun.
Alex said Ghent are killing me right now. I hear you, man.
Andy would love to confirm that.
I had a super rare stack, well, like partial stack, and then I had a limited stack, and then I had a rare stack. So, Mike, if you look at my challenger lineups, they're kind of non-existent.
Oh, you got Livakovic.
Yeah,
congrats.
He accepted. So right. Maybe I'll have one challenger lineup this week.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, I mean, what led you? Because obviously there's work that goes into like, oh, I'm going to have a Ghent stack. Not only like picking Ghent, but also which 5 you were going to get. 6 if we count double goalie. And do you have both goalies?
I have a Nardi limited now, so I fixed that lineup. In fact, I only bought the Nardi limited because I was like, I can use him midweeks when they play Europa because he's getting all the Europa games. So the plan was I was going to run the one with Roof on the weekends and then Nardi on the. Now it's flipped.
It is flipped.
Maybe, I don't know. Oh. I think Roof played one conference game, but it's not going to matter. They're not going to make it out of their group. So, like, what do they have? A couple games left. Like, he might get a couple more games, and then that's it.
You know what they need is a Europa conference.
Yes, like if you finish in third place, you get relegated down to that. That'd be great.
Yeah, like the Europa Committee League. It's not a full conference, it's a committee.
Then again, Ghent playing midweeks right now does not seem to be doing them any favors at all. Like if you look at the health of their players.
Also true. Yeah. I'll be honest, when Castro Montes went down, I completely stopped paying attention to Ghent. And so the fact that they're away or that they're going to lose European football, like literally it doesn't matter to me. But that was like, so essentially what happened is I was looking for a super rare to play an all-star rare pro. And I went through a bunch of different players and prices, and he seemed kind of cheap for the production. And he seems like one of those players that really benefited from the new scoring matrix.
Yeah, for sure.
That he used to just like not give the ball up all the time, but like,
yeah, he's the Belgian TAA, right? Isn't that what we were saying?
If we want to go that far, yeah. But yeah, like, so you can almost see, I'm pretty sure I bought him like right after game week. What is that? 305. And I was like, yeah. And then he had like 4 subpar games and got hurt. And it looks like he was hurt in that 4th game. Of course he was smashing, man.
Yeah. I think he's like an after World Cup type of injury too. So
yes,
you know,
I'm hoping it's right after the World Cup. But so anyway, so what did you have certain number of players from Ghent where you were finally like, I really should have 5, or like at what point did you say,
I don't even have,
I need more?
Yeah, I don't even have the full stacks. It was more like I have the goalkeeper and I had a few other players. Like I've got Sven Coombs and some other pieces, but it just made sense at a certain point, like maybe to utilize them in midweeks to, I'll go out and get a Kuipers rare, and I'll go out and get a Castro Montes rare,
Yep.
And just other little pieces. Like I ended up picking up Hong when he was pretty cheap. I feel like right when he transferred from Lask. So like I do have like I got all the pieces. I don't always run them together.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point they do weird stuff now anyways, where like Kuipers has been like, if you click into Kuipers, I mean, he was locked in at Mechelen, and he seems to score goals every time he starts, but they're like not always starting him, it feels like. And I don't know if there's like a fitness issue or what, but it's like 2 of the last 4 games he started from the bench. So
Not good.
I don't know. Yeah. And I mean, one of those that Mechelen game he started and just had, I guess, a big chance missed or something, or a couple of BCMs.
Just trying too hard in that one, it looks like.
Yeah. I think they're really an example of a team, though, where midweeks are not doing them any favors at all.
2 big chances missed.
Yeah.
Nothing like losing 11 of 14 duels, too.
Oh, man. Somebody was eating his lunch.
Yeah, I was just trying too hard. They were showing they were perfectly happy with him gone.
Yeah.
Philly Dilly's asking, this is the kind of work of Sorare thing. How do you guys go about catching transfers that are Sorare relevant? I just let other people tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I follow a ton of people on Twitter and hope to catch it early enough to where if it's a move that I like or don't like, I can react. But chances are people have already reacted before I get to it. So,
right.
So yeah. Like quick reactions on transfers usually is not something like I am able to like take advantage of and profit off of.
I'm not even sure they're great to even do. Like, I think there's some people who can play the transfer game, but for the amount of noise that like gets out there and people react to it, and then either something else happens or nothing happens. Like the one that pops in was Omar Saleh's move to Torino. Is that where he was going? And like everyone jumped ship. And then he didn't go. And everyone's like, oh, maybe he's good. And now he's like the best U23 defender on the platform. And so, like, if you're one of these people who's like, oh, yeah, let me sell because he's going to 0. I saw the transfer news. That backfired. And if you're one of the people that bought at the bottom, see, look at this. I mentioned Soleil and John Nellis shows up in the chat. It's just absolutely perfect. Perfect timing. He must have some sort of alarm going off. But he was one. And I remember talking to him about it. He's like, I could believe he has a Soleil super rare. And he's like, I think I'm just going to hold it. And he started justifying that it would be an okay move to Torino. And then the move didn't happen. And there it is. Nailed it. So, yeah, transfer work I try to stay out of.
That's wild that he was going for, what is that, like 0.2, 0.3, and now he's at 1.2 card.
0.35, yeah, about 0.4-ish, and then this 1.26, and then like a full ETH higher now. And
yeah,
he never moved. That was the funny
I'm typically more likely to try to dump a card based on a transfer rather than buying.
Acquire? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rarely. I don't know. Typically, the transfers end up being more negative. It feels like than positive, but
I think that generally happens with U23 guys. Like, rarely are you super excited that they go to AC Milan because you're like, oh, maybe they'll be good one day, but then they're not U23. And like, how do you have a De Ketelaere card?
No.
Me neither. But that's the one that always sticks with me. Coop Miners, I guess, before him, that like great cards to have until they're not. I think he's still pretty young. Maybe he still smashes. He's had his moments. I want to go back to the work on acquiring cards.
Yeah.
What's the toughest card you've ever had to, like, what was the most amount of work that went into acquiring a card? Or do you just give up before it's like overly work?
That's usually it right there. Like I honestly, I don't know. It's probably like I was gonna say a pile trader deal, but I've only done like 2 or 3 deals with him ever, so I don't know. I feel like you're a better person to answer this question because I've seen long stories from you about you acquiring different players and having to like move different pieces to do this to I don't know.
So I had this weird. I'll jump into that, but there was this weird situation that I had recently where I kept trying to trade. I tried to do card trades, and I don't think there's more. You can't put in more work than trying to figure out a card trade with someone, particularly people who like don't normally card trade. But like, if you're trying to do one like you mentioned with Powell or Rody Boss or Katozi or Super Usmane, whatever they are, all the bundle buyers, like they're people who I believe are equipped to evaluate trades as long as you understand that every single one of them has to be in their favor. And so if you go in with that mindset, then you're okay. But I had this idea of wanting to trade one of my cards for another one or a couple, or maybe it was one of my cards for two others, whatever it was. And it just like wasn't going anywhere. And they were like, the value isn't there. I need the extra 15, 10, 15, 20%. And I wasn't willing to do that. But the ETH asking price was reasonable. And then I sold the card I was trying to trade, and I had the ETH to make the deal. And I was like hesitating spending all the ETH. And I was like, this is weird because I wanted to just like trade this card. And now I've effectively been able to do that. But now that I have the ETH, I'm like, man, what else can I buy? Whereas like if you have a card that's worth like 0.2 ETH and you really want to acquire a card, something about that card you don't want anymore, but you found another one that's like 0.115 even. Like you're not going to offer up a more valuable card. Like you're not just going to give it away for this other card. But then if you like sell it and now you're like, I can go buy this card. It's like, well, was I really wanting to buy this 0.15 card because it was 0.15, or was it like actually a player that I wanted? And once you get the ETH, it's like the possibilities expand.
Right.
And it's almost like now I have too much choice. And so I don't know like what. So that's basically what's been happening to me lately is that I had this like, I wanted to basically get out of under 23s. And so I was like, oh, maybe I can trade, because I have a couple like pretty good U23 rare cards. And I'm like, I can trade those for old guys that nobody wants. And like, I wasn't getting full value, understandably, in like a trade. And I was like, well, let me just sell it. So I sold one. And I was like, I knew what I wanted to get in a trade. And yet now that I can just buy those cards, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll also blame SorareNBA for that, though.
I'm looking through your U23s now. You do have some good pieces in there.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
I have
some of them are MLS though that are
yes.
probably not cards you're wanting to move right now.
No, they're those guys aren't even that good. But like, I have this weird situation where there are certain cards. It's not even certain cards that I want, but like I'm trying to improve the cards that I have. And I'm like, all right, I'm trying to improve my lineups. Like I have generally play guys that I play in All-Star Rare Pro all the time if I can't, if the matchup's good. And so now I'm like, let me sell this U23 guy because he's U23 and I don't play U23s. But like he scores just as well as anyone.
He's the guy that's already cracking your lineups.
Right. So like, why am I giving up on this card? I'm basically giving up on the card to get somebody older who probably doesn't score as well. And so why am I doing that? But that's also work that goes into it, just trying to figure out like which pieces fit. And so like the one that I keep trying to sell now is Jesper Karlsson, is a card that I've had for a long time. And if I'm giving up under 23s, like it seems like a silly card to have.
Yeah.
but then I have to like put in the work to figure out who I'm playing in, like who I can get to replace him in a lineup. So I need somebody that scores as well and presumably isn't as expensive. So all I do is like try to find other players. And then you use this similar players tool and you're like, I thought he was better than this. I thought Messi was going to show up. So if anyone's looking for Jesper Karlsson, I'm trying to sell. But please don't lowball me. I've had a few of those as well.
Do you have them listed for sale?
I do.
Then I think the only offers you're going to get are lowballs.
I've had some reasonable ones. I'm not going to lie. I've had some reasonable offers that are just not high enough. Like the benefit I have with this card is that I can just keep playing it. The only thing that like keeps staying in the back of my head, because I was like, if I just hold him until he's no longer, like he's only U23 eligible for the rest of this season. And I was like, if I hold on to him, like these scores are good enough where I'm fine with him after he ages out. But then it's like, do I want to, I wouldn't pay as much as he's going for now, 1.75 for a 28-year-old guy who scores like this. I don't think. So like, why would I do it if he's 24? Like the increase, the price built in for the increased utility means nothing to me at this point.
Yeah. You know what kind of work I hate more than training lineups?
No.
Both in like my personal, professional life and Sorare unplanned work.
Just like, just things that pop up?
Yeah, like injuries or suspensions or like things you have to deal with on the fly.
Yeah.
Especially like when it's like kind of, well, it doesn't matter if it's short term or long term. If it's going to cost you a lineup, then you have to deal with it. Yeah. And when you play, I guess, a lot of lineups, you get a lot of unplanned work, and it's like you have to make those decisions. Am I going to just not run that lineup? Am I going to take those pieces and run them somewhere else and make somewhere else better? Or do I try to buy a card or trade for a card or do something to where I can run the lineup? Yeah, I hate that stuff. Injuries and injuries obviously is like it's like a double whammy because your player loses value and you have to figure out a fix.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I've had injuries to a lot of cards that like are important for my lineups this year, like particularly super rares. And I went about building rare pro lineups. Like I'm going to have super rares. I'm going to try to get like as good of rares as I can get with those guys. But then when I lose the super rares, it's like, all right, do I now submit the lineups with these like bad super rares that I have, or do I just go to rare?
Yeah.
And I was talking about this with our friend Gator Guy, who I think people are officially making fun of me for how much he comes up in shows. But anyway, last week I had a rare pro lineup that I wanted to play. Paulo Diaz was hurt, and so I couldn't play that super rare. And I basically was like, all right, I'm just going to play my best lineup in All-Star Rare. So I submit the lineup, and he's like, I think that was a really good move. I think that's going to do well. And the lineup was terrible. And so I had like Franco Armani, and then I had a Paulo Diaz super rare. I was going to play De La Cruz for like a River Plate stack because they were playing like the worst team in Argentina. I forget what this super rare that I could have played, I don't even remember who it was. Probably it was supposed to be Castro Montes, and it wasn't. And then I have Tadic, who bangs 100 in basically a lineup that gets me a threshold. And the super frustrating thing was just that. Then I'm like, I'm now submitting cards that I wouldn't normally play in All-Star Rare, And like that Tadic card is, I'm fairly certain, like by far the most expensive card I've ever bought. Yeah. And I sold like a ton of cards to get that. And then now I'm playing it in All-Star Rare to like hopefully get a threshold.
I mean, to be honest, that lineup had some bad luck in it, right? Didn't Hoffman get hurt in that game? And
yes,
De La Cruz started on the bench, maybe?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
and they lost. I mean, like they lost 2-1. But yeah, I just like it.
I don't think realistically you were just hoping to get a threshold. I mean,
No,
that's a
no,
good team, and
Yes.
you were competing for a card, and it was a good enough lineup to win a tier 2 or better, and
right. Like
it just didn't work out.
Yes, but like I want to play. Like I got Tadic to play in Rare Pro with.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's Wonder if I can. Well, of course I can easily pull it up. I apologize to everyone right now who's going to just listen to me whine about injuries. But like Diaz is hurt, Castro Montes is hurt, Coates is hurt, Rakitsky is either suspended. He's like suspended every week, so that one is a killer. Seko was suspended. Lehan Bum was hurt for a long time. Gary Alde was hurt for a bit. Lubicic kept getting rotated because of Champions League. Osmar was hurt for a long time. Pedro Santos was hurt for a long time. Of course, the GOAT, Michael Bradley, always plays. But like these guys, Dahomey was hurt. Pasher got cut. And I'm just like,
you need to stop buying guys that get hurt.
I think I should do that. Is there a Patreon that like, does anybody have a Patreon of just lists of guys who don't get hurt? It's probably a list of like guys I shouldn't buy just for the good of the community.
Yeah.
Who should I buy?
Well, you already bought Tadic, so if I had a Tadic, I'd be selling him.
Oh. I hope he doesn't get hurt. That would.
I mean, I'm not even going to respond to that because I don't want it to like.
I don't even want to. Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Surfer said the Everson unique was the hardest for him. It took him 4 days going back and forth with plant power. That might have been the card I was thinking of. Like the situation. I couldn't remember the exact deal, but maybe that was it.
I remember that was a pretty crazy deal because I think Surface traded like a Kamek rare, I think, and other stuff.
Unfortunately,
that'd be a fun deal to look at.
There's no way for us to figure it out. Oh, wait. There's actually a website that can show us within seconds. Let's see what we got here for the. So it was purchased for 2.23 at auction, which seems pretty reasonable, I think. This deal was so complex, it's just not even loading.
There we go.
So we've got Kimmich rare, Lucas Vasquez rare, the Lord rare from 2018. That's fun. And a Mitoma, who I believe just got hurt. Oh, plus 0.75 ETH. Let's see, valuation of the day 5. But that might be fair, actually.
I know last year Surface won a ton with that Everson.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that Everson card is.
I think it was, not great this year, but last year I think he did quite well with it.
Sorry, for those of you who are just listening, this is like an endless scroll looking at the rewards won from this card. My God, Surface, well done.
Yeah, like
this is one of the longest.
That's one of those trades that if you just look at it straight up by value, you're like, oh, Sam got fleeced.
Yeah,
like
Sam got totally fleeced getting this card that has helped him win 35 ETH worth of rewards.
Yeah, but if you look at like the way that he was able to take that card, use it, I mean, props to him because
that's wild. 10 ETH earned plus 35 ETH in rewards. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a Carlos Hill super rare, Sean John.
There's some good cards in there.
Quincy, Jesus Ferreira. My God. All super rares.
Whew. Surface, you still have that Jack Elliott super rare?
Only one way to find out. Sure does. Sniffing?
We might have to have a little discussion about
that. What does a Jack Elliott super rare go for these days? About an ETH?
Oh. Yeah, I'm sure that has won a lot for you. That's a good card.
Look at that dip. Yeah, that's
He had a weird thing this like at the very beginning of the year where they were playing him at CDM,
CDM, right? Yeah.
and he had some like it's probably that little window there where it's like 30, 43, 41, 33, and then when he gets back to his natural position, he just smashes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good card. That team is good, not gonna lie.
Yeah, they play tonight. It'll be a fun
Yep.
game. Cincinnati's been honestly really, really impressive the last month, and I don't know. I wouldn't like if since he went into Philly and won tonight. I would not be like I wouldn't be floored. I would not be shocked.
Cincinnati's such a classic example of the weirdness of Major League Soccer. That they were
Yeah,
like one of the worst teams in league history last year. Didn't change a ton, and now, yeah, second round.
they really didn't change much at all.
Nope.
Um, and it's also the classic example of like American sports and playoffs, and it's get hot at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
It's you just get into a good run. We see it all the time in baseball where the wild card team will come in, they'll win their wild card games, advance to the division series or whatever, and they get into a rhythm, and they end up winning the whole thing. And
Yeah.
they may not have been the best team all year, but it doesn't matter. They got hot at the right time.
Yep. So I mean, that's the beauty of the playoffs, right there. You just get hot at the right time, and you're.
Some would say that's not the beauty of the playoffs, and you get a lot of opinions on that sort of thing.
I get it.
Playoffs are just fun, though.
Yeah. Sorry, we like more fun. My bad. It's not like an all-star game. Anyway. So let's say that you want a Jack Elliott super rare. Hypothetically, of course.
Ah, okay. Not hypothetically, I do.
Okay. So we have this situation here where there are none on the market. And okay. I'm guessing, I'm not going to guess that Surface wants to sell or not. But in this situation, and if you're like, this is the card I need, what do you do next?
I think the first thing I do is I see if anybody that I know owns one.
Okay.
Just to see if they, because they may be like interested in moving it. And I don't know, I've had a lot more success doing deals with people that I know and people that I already have a rapport with versus just like cold calling someone on Discord. Hey mate, I see you don't have your Jack Elliott listed for sale.
Yep.
Would you like to make a deal?
I think that's exactly what I would do, though. I mean, that's exactly what I've done previously. That there are cards that, yeah, it particularly happens with super rares. Like rares, there are generally rares on the market that you can at least start to get an idea of what valuations people put on them or how reasonable people can be in terms of selling them. But super rares like this get tricky because, yeah, there are, what do we say, 19 of them, and no one is trying to sell right now. Now, that doesn't mean that nobody will sell, but nobody is selling now. I'm guessing this last one was a recent reward. Let's see. Now it's a month ago, over a month. Do you ever, and he's using it. Like, how deep do you go looking if you come up on this and you're just like, I don't know any of these people?
Yeah, then I might just start shooting out offers. Like, I don't know. It makes it really hard too when like there's not a lot of transfer activity on a super rare, and maybe you just have sales data on the rares. But like for this card, I'd see the 0.23 floor for his rare, and I would probably, make a calculation off of that 3.5x, round it up to 0.75, and start just throwing that out to people. Yeah. Is anybody interested at 0.75? And just get a feel for that, which I feel like is a good starting point. It might even be an offer that someone would accept.
Yep.
But like if I threw that over to Sam, he may also feel like it's a 1 ETH card, and I can respect that too. Like, that's the difficult thing with super rares is there's not a ton of market data to really tell you what the price is.
Yes.
It's if you want the card, pay up.
Yeah. So I went through this recently with a card that I ended up acquiring. And it was a little bit of a tricky thing because obviously in any negotiation, any data point that like works in your favor, you're going to use. And so I was trying to get one closer to last sale, which happened to be an auction. And with super rares, it's really tough because using an auction price like basically doesn't work in a negotiation for super rares because like you have no idea when the next auction is going to come. Like it could be next week. It could be in 3 months.
So is there only 4 current year Jack Elliott cards? Is that right?
It looks like it. Yes.
Okay. So there's a decent chance that another one will get auctioned in the not so crazy future, I guess. Well, he's not playing over international break, and they're not playing again until March. I've got a lot of time to acquire the card, so it's a card I want, but it's not a card I'm gonna go make that offer to someone tomorrow.
Right. You don't need it tomorrow.
Right. If I felt like I could get a crazy good deal because somebody's trying to dump it in the off season, then yeah. But I don't see that. I don't see people doing that with good super rares, trying to dump that on the market so that they can get into something else while MLS is on break.
Yeah, I find, and this is not the case with everyone, but I do find that people that have good super rares don't usually need to sell cheap just to get it. Like
you're 100% right.
Where they can
you're
hold
100% right.
Which, Surface said it himself a few minutes ago. With my gallery, I'm at the point where if I never move a super rare at the end of the season, unless the player's valuation is factoring in a certain move, it just doesn't make sense. I'd hold until March. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I totally get that. Totally respect that. And
definitely,
honestly, I'm in a similar situation where it would just be like, why would I sell it?
Yeah.
And the hope for me, as somebody that's looking to buy, is just that one would get dropped on auction, and there would be probably a little bit of like pressure to buy it, but like with them being off right now, I don't think that there's going to be a frenzy to go out and buy Jack Elliott super rare cards.
Right. It's funny you say this because I was talking to somebody the other day about baseball, and they wanted to do a baseball for soccer trade.
Oh, interesting.
So they want a baseball card I wanted. And I was like, oh, I want to buy that card. But like, I don't need the card now. And so it's like, so then that started me thinking, because everybody's like, oh, prices are going to be really low in the off season because like there's nothing happening. But like, I'm not sure that prices are going to drop as much as people think outside of auctions, because like there's no reason to sell right now.
Right.
Like unless you specifically like need the ETH for something else, like it's extremely silly to like post cards on the secondary market for cheap just so that you would like buy back in February.
Yeah, I don't know the general like field and like perspective that other people went into baseball with, not to like go on this crazy baseball tangent, but I didn't go in with any short-term expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting to win money this year. I was not expecting to really, honestly, like be very competitive from a like card winning perspective, but I just wanted a piece of the pie.
Sure.
I wanted to collect my team. I wanted a piece of the pie, but it wasn't like, I plan on getting out of this anytime soon. And I would have a hard time thinking that there's people that came into the baseball product and were like, well, this is a thing that I'm really only going to be interested in for 3 months. And then in the off season, I'll sell my cards and then get into NBA. I don't feel like that's a perspective of I don't know, very many people that they would be that short-sighted.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there.
Now there might be people where they got into baseball and then they weren't expecting basketball. Basketball dropped, and they may not have the funds to do everything that they want to do, and they might move a few cards or something. I get that, but yeah.
No, I think that's the right way of thinking. Philly Billy was saying, based on last year, should the MLS floor have been a couple weeks ago? Andy, I'm glad he asked, because you are the floor, you are the dip expert. But I will say,
I
just
still
looking
am.
at this is just a list of the MLS All Stars from this year, which is kind of just a generic list of 26 guys. Like, obviously, there's some elite players: Carlos Hill, Driussi, Acosta. It includes Tati Castellanos, who's obviously not there anymore, not in MLS anymore. Taxi's probably gone, or at least he hasn't been
That
playing.
looks like the bottom of a U-shaped graph.
I'm just saying, it looks a little dippy. That's all.
I think you could make the case it's certainly not a bad time to, not financial advice, to buy MLS cards.
Yeah, no, I don't. I agree. This is for limiteds, by the way.
Yeah.
In USD, which, let me see what the rares look like. Yeah, I guess if we want to just like focus like just right here, that it's gone from 503 to 516 in 3 days. Maybe it's time we're coming back up. Maybe we found it. I think the dip was Tuesday, and it's time to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you just like go all the way back to last year at this time, from October 21st, like look at that chart, and from that point forward, it only really increased.
Yeah. As I was saying, the season ended earlier this season, so the time frame needs to be put in that perspective. I mean, if that's the case, then like we're about to fly. Just kidding. Please, no one say that I'm calling the comeback here.
Do we know when the MLS starts? Is it mid-March, late March?
I think I thought it was the last week of February.
That might be right. Yeah.
Some league starts then. It's that one, or J League or K League, one of them. But I'm pretty sure it was the last week of February, which is both fairly close, given that the World Cup is taking up a month in the middle, but also an absolute eternity.
It's an eternity. Yeah.
Our friend Trippin' B was here saying that he sold Jack Elliott and Jacob Glesnes last MLS preseason. Preseason seems fine. I mean, if you sold like right here,
yeah,
not bad.
I sold Elliott and then rebought Elliott. I think I sold him. I think I sold him when he was like diddling around and playing CDM, and then I rebought him when he was, playing good.
Just wanted no part of that CDM role.
Yeah, it was, I guess, a moment of impatience.
He said the sell and rebuy is the worst.
Yeah.
I did that recently. It was a reward that I sold a while ago, and I just rebought, and I rebought for less than I sold, so I feel like it was a win. But
I never feel like I never feel like I win in those scenarios, because it's more along the lines of like, I like to think bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And if I sell a guy, usually it's like, okay, I'm done with this guy. Not, all right, I'll come back.
I'll come back later.
Yeah. Typically when I break up, I don't want to come back to the guy, but
yeah.
It happens.
Mr. McGovern here said that he sold Mukhtar preseason, which that seems fine to me.
Yeah.
That
but he did absolutely
like
smash.
That's exactly what you should have done. I also just can't believe how good he was this year.
Brosaurus, I actually do like that take. I don't mind selling off scraps during a dip season, so long as I reinvest in the same sport, same league. Like, that makes sense. Like, if I sold off 2 or 3 MLS guys, and, maybe upgraded in one of those positions or something,
I will say
that seems fair.
that reminded me of a card that I traded or that I sold, excuse me, last year. I won it. It was like a decent reward, and I knew. So I won a starting goalkeeper during the goalkeeper's off season, and sold it during the off season before the run up, which I believe is like one of the stupidest things that you can do on Sorare.
Was it Joe Willis?
It was not. It didn't get that bad, thankfully. It was Shusaku Nishikawa from Urawa Reds. And as you can, like, I sold for 0.189, and I'm like, what was this, January 9th? And I'm like, this card is going to be more later, but I wanted the ETH then. And then, yeah, preseason, he got up to like 0.55. And I was like, oh, like, that was, what is that, 1 month? Let's see. The 5th, 0.3. So a month and a half-ish. It tripled, and or 2.5x. Don't do this.
I realized flipping is not for me when I bought up a bunch of Jorge Bruns before he was coming back from ACL injury or something.
Mm-hmm.
And like, full disclosure, the flips, I profited on the flips. But I realized flipping's not for me because I bought too high. Like, I bought before his price like bottomed.
Okay.
And then when I went to like resell, I did sell like the top, but I made peanuts. And it was just like, I spent a lot of time figuring out that he was coming back and doing research, and like, it was a successful flip and it was the right play.
Mm-hmm.
But it just was not. I made like $50 or something. It was just, I bought like 5 limiteds or something. And I even sold like the perfect time. There was a midweek island game where they were like the only game in America, and like there was demand for the card, but I still, like, the amount of money that I made was just not worth the time invested.
It's funny you say that, because that was like my biggest thing about flipping, particularly limiteds. And it's like really tough to flip super rares. And so rares, like, you have to be really right on the rares to like flip them well.
Yeah.
So limiteds look like it's the best place because like it's so liquid, and you should be able to, like, you can, to buy in is a little cheaper, but the margins are obviously so much smaller that like the people who like go out and like buy 10 of the same player and they're like, I'm going to sell all these, that, like, I literally get nervous just thinking about that idea of like owning 10 limiteds because if the flip like doesn't work, I just have to look at these cards all the time. But like, I bought a few limiteds of a few guys early on and have this Ibrahim Sangare who I was like, oh, I profited here. So I got him for 0.028. I'll even put this in fiat so that, oh, actually that doesn't look as bad now. $91 to then 187, and I'm like, sweet. But then it's like, oh, and then it got up to 726.
Damn.
He was still U23 back then.
Right.
But so it's stuff like that with limiteds that I was like, oh, all right, let me be happy with my $90 profit. And then I was like, oh, it could have been $600. But I don't know anyone who waits that long. Like, flipping's supposed to be fast, right? Isn't that the point?
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. Philly Dilly said that's the most tilting profitable sell ever. I wish it was the most tilting, but it was not. It's definitely not.
Mike said he's stuck with 5 Alan Mozos.
Yeah, there you go.
The Mexican TAA. Is he even Mexican? I don't know.
He is.
Yeah.
What about?
And he's got a terrible hair. What is he?
What about
what's
him,
going on there, Alan?
Games like this, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think
like I said, this is not a card I would want 5 of. That's all.
Well, yeah, I think the people thought when he went to Chivas that he was going to be like, I don't know, like he was really going to like smash in that role, but just didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at buying him too.
You what?
I was looking at buying him too.
Did more work make you not buy him, or did less work make you not buy him?
Less work made me not buy him. Yeah.
So that's really the lesson. Don't do it too much work where you end up with 5 Alan Mozos.
That's right.
I think that's fair. That's fair. We are well beyond the hour mark. Do you have any other things that we didn't talk about that you wanted to hit on? I feel like we could talk about this next week. Might just be part 2, to be honest.
Yeah, we just kind of started to scrape the surface of flipping, but I think that you could have a lot of discussion there. I had like two or three like little experiments, and I would say that the Bruin one was like a big success, and I made like $30. I would just looked at it. I brought 5. I brought 5 of his cards for like $20, I think, on average, like $20 a pop, and resold them for like 30 to 35 a pop.
I mean, I think that's. I realize that like for your gallery that doesn't make a huge difference, but I get that that makes a difference. Like,
sure, yeah,
pretty damn risky, but
yeah.
Look at this chart.
That's the problem. That's the problem. There's a lot of risk there, and just like what's the biggest reward you could possibly get out of this? Oh, 0.03. Great. If you sell the absolute top of that. And
what is this? This is.
I think that's when they first started auctioning them off, maybe. I don't know.
This is so funny. Look at all these people just dying for a Jorge Brown. Did he get hurt? COVID?
Tore his ACL.
Oh, looks like he's back. I'm just going to guess that he's back and then the season ended, or he got hurt again.
No, he came back, and then I think he just didn't play that well, and then he made it back onto the bench. So he started like 3 or 4 games, and then back to the bench.
Yeah, that L5 at 8 is not going to help.
Yeah, how does that happen? That's how that happens. I see. Yeah, he must have costed them that game, the Racing and Rosario game. Like, it looks like that error led to goal or something.
Yep.
Or is that a PK?
I think it's an own goal.
Own goal.
Let's see. Was it a late? Do we not have it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Must have been an error led to goal.
Nice.
Never good.
No.
You don't see many games where the goalies combine for 22 points.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, this also gave me a nice reminder of my boy Juan Romero.
Ooh, how's he doing? He's not doing anything. Yeah.
No, yeah, he's not. Let's see, I think I won him in America once. There it is. Bink. Amazing what you can do as a starting goalkeeper when you're under 23 years old.
Yeah.
On that note, we're going to end today's podcast. Thank you to everybody who has joined us live. That was all pretty entertaining. Maybe we'll talk about this more next week since it didn't really feel like work. So that was nice. So yeah, if everybody could please hit the like button. I saw a good number of people watching, but not enough people liking the video. So if you guys could please like that video, that's always appreciated. Feel free to share it with everyone that you know so we can get the views up as well. That's always nice. So yeah, we'll be back next week. I'll be back early in the week with Sean for the strategy show. Andy and I will be back later in the week for more SorareAndrews, possibly the work of Sorare Part 2, because there were a number of comments in the chat today that made me start thinking about other things we didn't talk about. So maybe we'll get to those next week. So again, thank you to everybody who joined us in the chat, and we'll see you next week.